What would you think if I told you that every time you've fallen deeply, intensely in love, you weren't actually falling for another person at all? That the breathless chemistry, the sleepless nights, the obsessive thoughts, all of it was just you meeting a hidden part of yourself for the first time. Today, perhaps more than ever, we mistake projection for connection. We confuse the mirror for the person holding it. And this confusion is destroying our capacity for genuine intimacy. Has this ever happened to you? You see someone across a room and something electric shoots through your chest. Not just attraction, recognition. Like you've been waiting your whole life for this moment, for this person. Your rational mind knows almost nothing about them, but your body is already writing poetry. This isn't love. This is projection. And projection, my friends, is the most seductive lie we tell ourselves about romance. Carl Jung called it the Anima, the unconscious feminine aspect that every man carries within his psyche. For most men, this inner feminine remains buried, disowned, split off from conscious awareness. So where does it go? It gets projected outward, onto women who somehow embody the qualities we've rejected in ourselves. The sensitive artist, the free spirit, the nurturer, the mystic. We don't fall in love with them. We fall in love with the part of ourselves they mirror back to us. Let me introduce you to 4 men. You've probably been at least one of them. The Spellbound Romantic lives for intensity. He confuses the rush of projection for the depth of love. Every new attraction feels like destiny, like the universe conspiring to bring him his soulmate. He ignores red flags because the chemistry is too strong. He becomes needy, obsessive, willing to betray his own values for another hit of that intoxicating recognition. The irony? The more desperately he chases this feeling, the more it eludes him. The Pedestal Builder takes a different approach. He finds a woman who fits his inner blueprint perfectly and proceeds to worship her like a goddess. She becomes his muse, his inspiration, his reason for living. But pedestals are prisons, and gods aren't meant to be human. When she inevitably reveals her humanity, her flaws, her complexity, her own struggles, he feels betrayed. Not by her, but by the fantasy he constructed around her. The pedestal crumbles. The cycle begins again. The Integrator represents the beginning of wisdom. He recognizes the pull of projection, and instead of acting on it immediately, he turns inward. He asks, what emotion am I chasing through her? What part of myself am I trying to reclaim through this attraction? He begins the slow, difficult work of integrating his own sensitivity, creativity, intuition. Chemistry stops dictating his choices. The grounded lover has completed this integration. He relates to women as complete humans, not as missing pieces of his soul. He brings presence instead of neediness, stillness instead of chaos. And perhaps most importantly, he can walk away to protect his peace. Modern culture has made this problem infinitely worse. We've been trained to chase, impress, and seduce, while completely neglecting inner work. We mistake familiar pain for fate. We pedestalize beauty. We outsource our wholeness to relationships. The dating apps, the pickup culture, the endless optimization of our external appeal. All of it feeds the same fundamental delusion, that validation equals value. But here's what no one tells you. The validation you're seeking from her is actually the validation you're withholding from yourself. That softness you find so attractive, it's your own disowned gentleness calling you home. That creativity that mesmerizes you, it's your own artistic soul begging for expression. That intuitive wisdom that seems so magnetic, it's your own inner knowing, silenced by years of rational overthinking. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we keep giving our power away to projections? Because beneath all the pursuit is a terror of inner emptiness. She completes me isn't romantic. It's a confession of inner abandonment. We've been taught that needing softness, rest, and emotional attunement are signs of weakness. So we split these needs off, exile them from consciousness, and then desperately seek them in romantic partners. It's evolutionarily clever, actually. Outsourcing these needs promises quick safety, immediate relief from the ache of inner disconnection. But it keeps our power outside ourselves, and anything outside ourselves can be taken away. Integration threatens the ego's romance script, which is why waking up from projection feels like grief before it feels like freedom. The fairy tale dies, but the man is born. What happens when we refuse to wake up? When we keep choosing the spell over the truth? First, we find ourselves attracted to the same type over and over again. Different faces, same story. Cycling heartbreak and obsession, wondering why we never learn. Second, we lose agency. Our emotions, attention, and self-worth become hostage to whatever woman currently holds our projection. We become reactive, desperate, willing to compromise our values for scraps of validation. Third, our relationships become built on trance instead of reality. Fantasy, codependency, and drama become the foundation, and houses built on sand always collapse. The final stage is possession, not by love, but by our own disowned shadow. We become the very neediness we once found so unattractive in others. Self-destruction dressed up as romance. This isn't new. The troubadours of medieval Europe built an entire culture around the worship of unattainable women. Courtly love, they called it. Beautiful poetry. Terrible psychology. The Romantic movement of the 19th century doubled down on this mistake, teaching us that love should be overwhelming, irrational, all-consuming. We've been living in the wreckage of these ideas ever since, but other traditions knew better. The Sufis spoke of the beloved as a mirror for the divine within. Hindu Tantra taught that the masculine and feminine principles must be balanced within the individual before they can be harmoniously expressed in relationship. Indigenous cultures often included initiation rites that helped young men integrate their full emotional and spiritual range before they were considered ready for partnership. We've forgotten these wisdoms, and we're paying the price. But there's another way, a harder way, a more honest way. It begins with a simple recognition. Every intense attraction is an invitation to reclaim a disowned part of yourself. Feel that pull toward her free-spirited nature? That's your own trapped spontaneity asking for liberation. Mesmerized by her emotional depth? That's your own buried sensitivity demanding expression. Enchanted by her artistic soul? That's your own creativity begging to be born. The woman isn't the goal. She's the messenger. You're at a crossroads now. Every man eventually arrives here. Path A. Repeat the spell. Keep chasing chemistry as memory. Call it destiny. Remain ruled by unconscious desire. Live in the familiar prison of projection and call it love. Path B. Break the spell. Pause before the pull. Name the need. Integrate the anima. Choose from wholeness, not hunger. Shift from projection to presence. One path leads to more of the same. Beautiful suffering, romantic addiction, the endless chase for completion through another. The other leads to something rarer, the capacity for real love. Love based on choice, not compulsion. Love that comes from fullness, not emptiness. Here's how you begin. The next time you feel that electric attraction, that sense of destiny, that pull toward someone you barely know, Try this. Pause and label. This is a projection impulse. Don't judge it. Don't fight it. Just name it. Name the need. What emotion are you chasing through her? Being soothed, being seen, being inspired, being saved. Get specific. Your unconscious speaks in feelings, not words. Reclaim a trait. Identify one disowned quality, creativity, softness, intuition, and embody it today in a concrete act. Write a poem. Take a bath. Trust your gut on something small. Stop outsourcing these qualities to women and start expressing them yourself. Reality. Check. List 3 things you actually know about her character. Not the fantasy, not the projection. Her actual, demonstrated values and behaviors. Usually, the list is embarrassingly short. Choose clearly. From a place of calm, ask yourself, do I want this person, or the feeling I imagine she'll give me? Then act in alignment with your peace, not your compulsion. What happens when you do this work? When you integrate your anima instead of projecting it, you become more attractive to women, ironically, but not because you're trying to be, because you're complete. You stop needing them to save you, so they can finally trust you to protect them. You stop seeing them as goddesses or objects and start seeing them as humans. Complex, flawed, beautiful humans worthy of real love. Your relationships become based on choice, not chemistry, on reality, not fantasy. And here's the deepest freedom. You can finally love someone without losing yourself. This isn't just about dating. This is about becoming a whole human being. Our culture has convinced men that sensitivity is weakness, that creativity is frivolous, that intuition is unreliable. We've been taught to cut ourselves in half and then wonder why we feel incomplete. The work of integrating the anima is the work of becoming fully masculine, not by rejecting the feminine, but by including it, not by conquering it, but by embodying it. This is what the world needs from men right now. Not more projection, not more possession, not more romantic addiction, but more integration, more wholeness, more men who know the difference between love and projection, more men who can hold space for real intimacy instead of demanding rescue through romance. The patterns you break in yourself, you break for your sons. The consciousness you develop, you model for the next generation. Every time you choose integration over projection, you're contributing to the healing of the masculine. You're helping to birth a new kind of man, one who doesn't need to possess the feminine because he's learned to embody it. This is the real work. This is the path beyond the spell. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you feel that familiar pull, that electric recognition, that sense of destiny, remember this. Remember that what you're feeling isn't love. It's your own disowned soul calling you home. Answer that call. Do the work. Break the spell. Because the world doesn't need more men who fall in love with projections. The world needs more men who are brave enough to fall in love with themselves first. The choice is yours. It always has been. But now at least, you know what you're choosing between.